Hello and welcome to this edition of Cleantech Republic. Every month we look at a different renewable energy topic, and this program is on smart grids and the question if they are the technology of the future. My name is Lisa Louis and I'm delighted to be joined by three experts on the topic. Patrice Mallet, who's smart grid specialist at the consultancy Accenture. Hello. Marc Boillot, head of smart grid projects at the French grid operator ERDF, and hello, and Matthieu Craye, from the Directorate General for Energy at the European Commission and who's overseeing the Smart Grid project Grid for EU at a European level. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you all for joining me today. Smart grids are one of the main talking points in the energy sector today, Matthieu Craye. Could you tell us how would you define smart grids and what are actually their benefits?
Well, I think we can say that smart grids has everything to do with integrating a lot of information and communication technology in our electricity networks. If you think about let's say all the operations that are taking place in the electricity system, I mean it's feeding in electricity by producers, transporting it by the network managers, distributing it, and then selling it, supplying it to consumers, to the end consumers, be it private or industrial consumers. Well, now with smart grids, all these operations will be accompanied or steered or controlled by, in fact, a lot of exchange of data and information between the actors in that system, between the producers, the generators, the network managers, and the consumers. Huh? And the kind of data that are exchanged relate to, for instance, the quantities that are produced by the generators, or their idea about how much they will produce in the next hours or the next day, possible problems that a network manager could foresee, congestion problems on the network and so on. And for the consumer, he could share data on his consumption pattern, what he intends to consume, what he is actually at the moment consuming. He could also receive information on the real-time prices for the electricity that he is buying at the moment. Then why are we busy with these smart grids now? I think it has a lot to do with the evolution of the electricity system in the last 2 decades towards a more complex system. Traditionally, we produced electricity very centralized in big installations. It was transported to the consumer, so it was very much one way flow of the energy. Nowadays, because of certain, say, policy goals, like we want to have a cleaner energy system, we want to have a lot of renewable electricity produced, we have evolved towards a different kind of system. A lot of electricity is produced in smaller installations and decentralized. For instance, think of all the solar panels that citizens have on the roofs of their houses. And so we have a particular need to now balance the production and the consumption of electricity. With smart grids, we also think we can have like other benefits, like a customer could, let's say, save on his energy bill. If he has information on the real-time price of the electricity, he could shift also the pattern of his consumption.
So far, though, there is no full smart grid scheme that has been implemented on a national level. Mr. Mallet, some countries are at the forefront of this technology. Tell us, who are the global champions?
Yes, in fact, in several parts of the world, you have different drivers for the development of smart grid technologies. And you have also different regulations, and so you have a different state of the art for the smart grid in the world. If you see, for example, in the United States, the main driver is the reliability of the grid, so and also the integration of renewables energy, especially in California, for example. So they are well advanced in terms of smart meters rollout, and they are also exploring a lot of demand response initiatives with time of use, for example, fixed or flexible tariff for the end consumers. In other part, if you consider, for example, emerging countries like India or China, you have very clear national roadmap at 5 or 10 years, and we are in the constraint of huge urbanization of the people. So they are building new city. So they use the state of the art of the technology jumping directly to the smart meter technology, and this is growing very fast, especially in China. If you look at other countries in south east of Asia, like for example South Korea, Singapore or Japan, they have huge local champions, and they are engaged in a strategy to be able to sell and to export their technology abroad. So in South Korea, for example, has the ambition to be the first full smart grid country, for example. In Europe, situation is quite different. The integration of renewable is a big driver for the development of the smart grid. We are more in a retrofit context of the existing network, so that takes much more time. And in Europe, you have several situations according to the regulation of the market model. Italy and Sweden, for example, are already full roll out the smart meter program. Some other countries like Finland, for example, or Denmark, are really engaged in some smart meter rollout programs. And in other countries, decision is waiting for, or is expecting to be done in the coming months or year.
One of the countries which is very active in this sector is France. There are about 20 different smart grid demonstrators that are being implemented at the moment. And one of them is the French part of the European pilot scheme Grid for You. You, Marc Boillot, you are managing that French part. Can you tell us a bit more about the project that you are implementing in the southern town of Nice?
Absolutely. It's a project about the photovoltaic integration into the low voltage network, but I will come to that a little bit later. First of all, I'd like to give some words about the Grid for You project. It's the largest project in Europe with 6 DSOs. DSOs is deals for distribution system operators. Enel in Italy, Iberdrola in Spain, RV in Germany, Vattenfall in Sweden, ČEZ Distribuce in the Czech Republic, and ERDF in France. All of them have joined forces to build this project thanks to their efforts in 6 different demos. And the cost of this project is 55 million euros, and the European Commission has given a grant for 25 million euros, so it's a very important project. All the different aspects of smart grids that can be tested in these projects are renewable integration, electric vehicle development, grid automation, storage facilities, load reduction, and so on. And I would like to give for each of these projects very briefly the key point of the project. For Germany is control of the medium voltage network, whereas for Sweden it's monitoring the low voltage network. In Spain it's awareness of the customer to better understand and realize that he can make efforts for his electric consumption. In Italy it's about maximizing the integration of renewables. In Czech Republic it's about management of the electric vehicle, and in France it's, as I was mentioning, the strong optimization of PV into the low voltage network. Mm-hmm. So a lot of innovation, a lot of participation of all of many players. We have more than 100 partners associated to the 6 projects, and most of all, and finally, it's very important that all the efforts of the DSOs are shared with all the players and the industry in Europe.
Mm-hmm. You just said it, there are a lot of different projects in Europe, and one of these projects, a couple of these projects are under the umbrella of the Grid for You scheme. You, Matthieu Craye, you are overseeing the Grid for EU scheme at the European Commission. Tell us, why is it that the European Union is so interested in smart grids?
Well, this has everything to do with the European energy and climate policy, which is in place since 2007-2008, where we have for the European energy system three major objectives. Yeah? One is to reduce the environmental impact of our energy system, very much thought of as we have to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions stemming from energy use and energy production. The second one is to secure the supply of energy to our European markets, because energy is so vital for our daily lives, but also for our industry. And the third one is to contribute to Europe's competitiveness, to supply electricity at an affordable price to consumers, also to industrial consumers. Yeah? And perhaps a particular aspect also of energy policy at the European level is that we think that all those three objectives, they will be achieved in a more efficient way, or in a more cost efficient way, through creating also a large internal European electricity market, yeah, through connecting all the national markets. And for all these aspects, integrating renewables, affordable prices for customers and so on, linking the several national networks, for all these important goals, smart grid technologies can contribute a lot.
You just said you're trying to link the different markets. Mr. Mallet, does that also mean the fact that it's such an important topic on a European level, does it mean that there's one smart grid market in Europe, or have companies having difficulties to find the right devices at a competitive price because the market is split up in different markets?
Oh, yeah. It's clear that you have European champions on the smart grid space, and of course they want to implement the technology at the larger scale as possible. So European country is a perfect playground for them. We can also see that we do not have the same sensitivity to this aspect of smart grid in the different countries. Consumers are not always at the same level of information or knowledge of that type of concept. You have also geographic constraints. So it's very interesting because we can see a lot of different initiatives with some mandate to share the result and to contribute to the better knowledge of these smart grid technologies.
Speaking about spending money, the smart grid market is obviously a very young market, and young markets from experience need a huge chunk of investment. Now, we are in dire economic times and have been so for the last couple of years. Mr. Mallet, would you say this is a problem? Would you say that companies are less willing to invest in such a young market that some people regard as not very mature yet?
We cannot say that there is no difficulty, of course, but you have some drivers that are always here. I mentioned about the integration of renewables. There was no real slowdown about that. You have also the reliability of the network. We will see probably the increased number of electric vehicles impacting the grid. So of course there are difficulties to invest, but more or less we see for many years now about 20 billions of US dollar that are invested in smart grid projects around the world, mainly in China and in United States.
And on a European level, Mr. Craye, what kind of support schemes are there to support companies that want to invest in the smart grid market?
Well, first of all, we support quite a lot of demonstration projects, or research and demonstration projects. Marc pointed to the 26 million grant that the Commission has awarded to Grid4EU. So we have what is called a framework program for research and technology development and demonstration. And in the last framework program, which ran for the past 6 years, we have invested like 150 million euro in several research and demonstration projects in the European Union in the field of smart grids. But and now we will start next year a new program called Horizon 2020, with again several hundreds of millions of euro that will be awarded to smart grid projects. Now, besides this, besides research and demonstration, there is also support to smart grid infrastructure. And for this, in the next, for a period of the next 7 years, we will have a new instrument at the European level, the Connecting Europe facility, in which we will award 5 billion euro two energy infrastructure projects in several priority areas, and one of the priority areas is smart grids with a cross-border impact. Yeah? So it's not yet known which part of the 5 billion will exactly go to the smart grid project, but it will be, for smart grids, an important tool for supporting them.
Well, there are also some concerns about smart grid technology, and one particular concern is cybersecurity. Some people fear cyber terrorists could take control of this remotely controlled network and maybe switch off parts of it or cause mayhem. Mr. Mallet, what are you telling your clients? How can companies protect themselves against such threats?
Yes, this is a real threat, and we help our client to overcome this threat by using new technologies and, of course, by testing and putting in place barriers against the cyber-terrorist attacks. In fact, you have two different risks with these cyber-terrorism attacks. The first one is, of course, the control of the grid for system operator. This is the first risk. And you have also another risk, which is about the data privacy. Because, you know, in some countries, people are very sensitive to the idea that someone could know their detailed consumption of electricity, knowing, for example, how many people are in the household. And you have to give to the customer real information about where are the data. And you saw some countries, for example, in the Netherlands, where there was a huge sensitivity about data privacy, and they had to stop a smart meter rollout, and Parliament had to vote a law in order to give to the consumers the choice of the option about who will collect the data, who will access to the data.
Are there any special technologies you normally recommend to protect oneself against this cyber terrorism threat?
You have to use a maximum of standards of technology. You have to ensure their interoperability. You have to use all the classical barriers for information system.
Mr. Boillot?
It's about security,
Okay.
because for the Grid for You project, it has been very important and taken into account in the design of the architecture of each project, each demo of this project, and each of the national authorities who was in charge data protection has a recommendation, and these recommendations were taken into account by the different demos. For example, in France, the French Data Protection Authority, called the CNIL, has made strong recommendation regarding the Linky project, and that was totally integrated in the design and of the architecture. And our strategy is to build a trusted infrastructure to prevent any cyber attack. And it's obvious that our strategy is it will be impossible for a neighbor to know the datas, your own datas, for example. And also it's also impossible for a hacker to enter the system. And finally, you know, there is no reason to create a blackout through a terrorism attack, and that's exactly what we want to build and then to test through in our project, to be sure that all the measures and the construction that we have made are efficient.
Can you tell us a bit more concretely what exactly you are doing to prevent such attacks? Are there special technologies? Are you encrypting data? What exactly are you doing?
Exactly, we are encrypting data, and then there are a number of firewalls. Yeah, there are measures regarding the security of the whole system, and that has proven to be very efficient.
I know that the medium voltage network in France is already a smart grid network. Tell me, have there been any attacks on this network at all, or have you been able to protect it?
We never experienced attacks on our network, and the development of smart grids will not be an opportunity for anybody to increase willingness of attack. And so this network has been designed really to resist this kind of attack, and no, at this stage we have and we will adapt our technology to the efforts that eventual criminal may undertake, and that's why it's a flexible system.
Do you think that is getting more difficult, given that maybe cyber attackers are getting more sophisticated nowadays?
Yes, but we have developed the right technology to resist these attacks.
Mr. Craye, could you talk us through what kind of safeguards there are on a European level? What are you at the European Commission recommending in this case?
Well, we certainly take very seriously these concerns related to both data protection and cybersecurity. What the European Commission is working at is a recommendation to the member states, which will be issued later this year, and which will introduce an instrument called a data protection impact assessment. Yeah? And this will list all kinds of measures that investors in smart grid infrastructure can take to limit the risks from, let's say, or the risks to harm the privacy. Yeah? And next to this, we are also working on a cybersecurity assessment framework, which would include exchanges of best practices between, let's say, the different projects in Europe working on this. And also, we would like to introduce a system of incident reporting, which is very similar to what happens, for instance, in the sector of the commercial air flight. Each time that there is an incident, it is analyzed thoroughly, so that in the end you evolve towards a system which has a very high embedded security.
Well, it's been a fascinating discussion, and there's so much more to say, but I'm afraid this is all we will have time for. Thank you all for joining me today, Mr. Mallet, Mr. Craye and Mr. Boillot, to this program, Smart Grids and Are They the Technology of the Future? Thanks to you all for watching. Keep tuning in, because we will be coming back to you regularly with programs on clean technology. My name is Lisa Louis. Thank you and goodbye.